on the digital cooperation, and we'll see it at the global level, at the UN level, then at the regional level with the Ustad Ayman, and finally with Ambassador Amr. We'll discuss it a little bit further on the impact of the global digital compact on the diplomacy. I'd like to introduce quickly some of the recent statistics released when it comes to the digital impact on the economy. And I can do it both in French and Arabic. I've prepared it both. It's up to you. Thinking I'll do it in Arabic. And then we will start quickly the discussion. فاعتبارا من 2024 يمثل الاقتصاد الرقمي ما يقترب من 15% من الناتج المحلي الإجمالي العالمي، ويتوسع بمعدل أسرع بنحو 2.5 مرة من الاقتصاد العالمي الإجمالي. ويتوقع أنه بحلول عام 2028 أن يصل إلى 16.5 تريليون دولار، وهو ما يمثل 17% من الناتج المحلي الإجمالي العالمي، مدفوعاً بالتقدم في التجارة الإلكترونية والإنفاق على التكنولوجيا والصادرات. تساهم الولايات المتحدة والصين معاً بنحو ثلثي الاقتصاد الرقمي العالمي. وبالنظر إلى المستقبل، تتوقع منظمة التعاون الرقمي DCO أن يساهم الاقتصاد الرقمي بنحو 30% من الناتج المحلي الإجمالي العالمي، ويخلق 30 مليون وظيفة بحلول عام 2030. من المتوقع أيضاً أن يلعب الذكاء الاصطناعي دوراً تحويلياً، حيث من المحتمل أن يضيف 15 تريليون دولار إلى الاقتصاد العالمي بحلول عام 2030 من خلال نمو الاستهلاك والمكاسب الإنتاجية optimization by using the AI. كما يمكن أن يعزز تبني الذكاء الاصطناعي نمو الإنتاجية بنحو 1.5 نقطة مئوية سنوياً، مما يزيد الناتج المحلي الإجمالي العالمي بمقدار 7 تريليون دولار إضافية. وتسلط هذه التوقعات الضوء على التأثير العميق للذكاء الاصطناعي على الاقتصاد الرقمي عبر القطاعات والمناطق. في المنطقة العربية من المتوقع أن يشكل الاقتصاد الرقمي 4.1% من الناتج المحلي الإجمالي. شفنا أنه 18% في العالمي و4.1% في المنطقة العربية في سنة 2024، لكن تشير التوقعات أنه قد يرتفع إلى 13% بحلول عام 2030. وقد يعود هذا النمو إلى زيادة الاستثمارات في البنية التحتية الرقمية والتجارة الإلكترونية وتبني استراتيجيات التحول الرقمي الوطنية في المنطقة العربية. وتبقى هناك فجوة بين المنطقة العربية والاقتصادات المتقدمة، لكن بالرغم من ذلك فإن مسارات النمو الحالية تشير إلى أن المنطقة في وضع جيد لسد جزء من هذه الفجوة بحلول عام 2030، بما يتماشى مع اتجاهات التحول الرقمي العالمية والاعتمادات المخصصة في المنطقة العربية. في هذا السياق يمثل الميثاق الرقمي العالمي The Global Digital Compact فرصة محورية للمنطقة العربية، وباعتباره مبادرة رئيسية لقمة الأمم المتحدة المستقبل Summit of the Future، فإنه يهدف إلى إرساء مبادئ مشتركة لمستقبل رقمي مفتوح وحر وآمن، مع التركيز على الشمول الرقمي والتعاون وحماية البيانات والحوكمة الرقمية العالمية. ويوفر الميثاق الرقمي العالمي The Global Digital Compact للمنطقة العربية فرصة غير مسبوقة للاستفادة من هذا الإطار الدولي الأممي لتعميق التعاون الرقمي وتعزيز التشغيل البيئي وتوسيع الأسواق الإقليمية وخلق فرص عمل جديدة. ومن خلال التوافق مع مبادئ الميثاق تستطيع الدول العربية تسريع التحول الرقمي والاندماج بشكل أكثر فاعلية في الاقتصاد الرقمي العالمي، وتعزيز القدرة التنافسية الإقليمية ودفع النمو الاقتصادي الشامل والمستدام. So this is literally the quick introduction about the happening in the Global Digital Compact, setting the stage for our discussion. I'd like to with our panelists. So I'll introduce the three of them. We have Under Secretary General Amandip Gill, my boss, the United Nations Secretary General Special Envoy in Technology. And after playing a crucial role in assisting member states throughout the process of creating and adopting the Global Digital Compact, he's now leading efforts in supporting its implementation, ensuring that the vision of secure, inclusive, and interoperable digital future is realized. And then we have Engineer Ayman Shirbini, representing ESQA,
where he leads on the Arab digital agenda, shaping the region's digital transformation strategy and addressing key challenges to unlock the potential of digital economies in the Arab world. He's a senior international development strategist in the United Nations and a former senior executive in several major and multinational technology companies. And finally, Ambassador Amr Jawali from the Arab Republic of Egypt. He's an international civil servant, diplomat, academic, and writer with over 32 years of professional experience, a key voice in the region, leading on digital cooperation and commitment to strengthen partnership and framework that foster digital integration on the ground. Thank you so much for joining the panel. And I'd like to quickly start with the Under Secretary General Amandeep Gill. I've been talking about the Global Digital Compact. If you can briefly introduce the Global Digital Compact, what does it really mean for the digital, and what can also bring the Global Digital Compact to the Arab world?
Thank you very much, Mehdi. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you to ESCWA and to the generous hosts, Jordan, for bringing us together. How does the GDC help bring the world together? I think the fact that 193 member states came together to adopt an ambitious agenda on digital and emerging technologies at a time of great geopolitical contestation is a testimony to not only the importance of the issue, but to the possibilities of international cooperation in this domain. What the GDC does is it offers a clear, cross-cutting Just allow me a second. Got another one here.
I will check.
Shall I test it? Okay. All right. So what it does is it puts together a shared vision of an open, free, secure, and empowering digital future. It describes 13 principles that should underpin that future. It has 5 clear objective areas, 5 areas for action. These include not only our traditional challenges of bridging the digital divide and leveraging digital technologies to accelerate progress on the SDGs, but also protection online, the important issue of human rights, and trust and digital safety. And then newer areas, data governance, artificial intelligence governance, and most importantly, in the context of this meeting, an inclusive digital economy. We heard the statistics. Yesterday, we spoke about the global picture and the regional picture. So the GDC, by providing these clear-cut objectives, actions, targets, it channels international cooperation into concrete areas. Finally, I would say that the GDC has mechanisms for implementation. It's triggering those mechanisms. One within the UN is a working group on digital technologies that is co-chaired by my office and the ITU, so by me and Doreen Bogdan-Martin, brings together all relevant UN agencies and actors, including the regional economic commissions, to take forward progress in these 5 areas. At another level, intergovernmental follow-up is underway. For example, on AI governance, modalities for setting up of an international scientific panel, a regular policy dialogue. They are under negotiation under the leadership of Spain and Costa Rica. And then at the level of stakeholders, at the level of regions and national contexts, we have an endorsement process underway. 350 plus entities from around the world have already endorsed the GDC and have indicated which areas they will take forward. This will allow us to build an implementation map that's not only describing what's happening, but it's also opening up possibilities for partnerships, because without partnerships, we won't be able to take the GDC forward. So I'll stop there, maybe.
Thank you so much. And then I go to Engineer Ayman. Now that Amandeep mentioned the Global Digital Compact, the cooperation impact expected for that, how do you see the alignment between the Arab digital agenda and the global digital compact? How can these two comes together, firstly, to accelerate the uptake of the digital cooperation in the Arab world?
Okay, this is a very nice question, and nice to give me the mic also. This is also interoperability on the panel. So you spoke about a very important topic to the audience before us, which is why we are doing this session, especially after we did yesterday. That is the very essence of it. I mean, every country has its own strategy or agenda, or will fine tune. We created the layer on the regional level, like other regions, but we are privileged to be the latest. And now when the GDC came at the global level, we are already in place, our thoughts, our design, our structure, to align the regional with the global. So it is very, say, natural progression to have this discussion because of this natural aspiration. We have already a structure for the Arab Digital Agenda. We know the structure of the GDC, and they are not different at all. Let me give quick illustrations of this, let us say, hypothesis. So infrastructure is a cornerstone of the Arab Digital Agenda with its, main issues, objectives, targets, and indicators. And this is something as part of the objective goal 1 of the GDC regarding bridging divides and so on. The inclusion is a very important component. When we go to the areas related to also governance and so on, we find it is a part also of the GDC. We have it as part of cluster 1 of the Arab Digital Agenda. Digital economy is part of the very title of objective 2, reducing also or ensuring the digital inclusion in the digital economy benefits. And this is our cluster 3 and part of cluster 4, and so on and so forth. This is like simple illustrations. Why is that? Because this is the concerns of the whole of the world. Maybe some of the areas didn't have enough, let us say, priority in the region regarding, for example, issues with let us say, kind of political nature or so on, was not on the top of the priorities. And maybe it can be included later on, but does not mean that we are not also part of objective 3. When we go to objective 4 and 5, which is artificial data governance and artificial intelligence, this is exactly what we are keen to say. We have these placeholder in the Arab Digital Agenda. Nevertheless, we will expand them in the next edition because the time we did this formulation during 2021, 2022, they were mentioned because they are important. But now, because they are more important and they are more pronounced in the GDC, we started already the process to include them in our next edition. And we had the 3 meetings of this team on the artificial intelligence, even on environment, to expand our next edition. So that is really 80% compatibility, as we state today. And we will, in the course of this year, align it 100%. But to do that, we have put 2 panels in this, what we call IGF and DCDF and so on, inscribed in the Arab Digital Agenda as the policy advocacy platforms of the Arab Digital Agenda. So what did we put here? We put 2 panels, one on data governance and one on artificial intelligence during the next 2 days. So this 80%, 100% full alignment is on the way. And by the way, if you allow me, because maybe you will ask me this question, we are also aligned with the WSIS intrinsically, because we designed our 5 cluster model based on the intersections of the action lines with different SDGs. And GDC naturally is not far from that, and vice versa. So everything is like coming together this year. That's what the Undersecretary General said, that during this few months, alignments is taking place in the mechanism for implementation. Also, we're doing that at the regional and national levels. So that, I think, the intersection between both for the moment, and I'll pass the floor to you again.
Thank you so much. That's so the Global Digital Compact is a very global agreement on the digital cooperation to bridge the divides, and that the Arab is reinforcing that agreement in a way to implement it with a specific context to the region. I'm looking to Ambassador Amr, and I would like to, within these visions of the different compacts and the different agreements we have, as a diplomat in the digital space, how you really see that the role of the UN to leverage this, its multilateral influence and helping in bridging these geopolitical divides in concrete manner.
شكرا أخي العزيز دكتور مهدي، ويسعدني المشاركة معكم على هذه المنصة. شكرا أخي العزيز دكتور مهدي، ويسعدني المشاركة معكم على هذه المنصة. ودعني أيضا أتوجه بالشكر وربما أكثر بالتهنئة إلى اللجنة الاقتصادية والاجتماعية لغرب آسيا من خلال أخي العزيز المهندس أيمن الشربيني على نجاح هذا المؤتمر وعلى المبادرة بعقده، والذي يعني أوقن وأنا متأكد أنه سوف يكون بداية لمسار من هذا الحوار السياسي في هذه الموضوعات الهامة. Don't worry, my dear colleague USG Amandeep, I will speak in English out of courtesy and respect to you, because we are very happy that that you join us. And you know, Ambassador Gill brings with him a wealth of knowledge and wealth of skills related to diplomacy. So maybe Dr. Mahdi, we should have directed this question to our USG rather than I, and we had the opportunity and the great chance to actually work together on a couple of other issues related to diplomacy, but in the disarmament field. And here it's very, very important to, as much as I think the majority of the participants this morning, and thank you for coming at 9 o'clock in the morning, this means a lot for us, are very much the stakeholders, the thinkers, the movers and shakers from the technical community. But we should also recognize that this particular topic right now, because of its ascendance on the international agenda, is also becoming a diplomatic issue and a diplomatic topic. And hence, the engagement of those two communities, the technical community and the diplomatic community, is crucial to push forward and to promote that agenda further, just like it happened in 2003 in Geneva, in 2005 in Tunis, at the initiative of Tunis to actually bring those two communities together. So this is maybe a reunion for the fusion of these two communities that came together and established maybe the first constitution, if we may say it, for the information society on the international agenda, now bringing that constitution to a new world. Allow me to speak not really as a diplomat, but maybe as someone who's trying to look at the framework, the paradigm of this these digital issues, and I'll offer you 5 C's. 5 C's. Because when our dear colleague Mahdi asked me to prepare well for this, I actually reread at 4 o'clock in the morning today the Global Digital Compact. And I really advise everyone not only to read the Digital Compact, but to reread it, because the more you read between the lines, the more you read between in the formulation, the textual formulations, which we diplomats are actually, that's our bread and butter, you start to realize different dimensions of this document. The 5 C's. And we are particularly in Egypt proud of this outcome, because Egypt, and probably many of you would know, was the negotiator for 134 countries, known as G77, really representing the voice of the Global South as it relates to the digital issues. So we have as much stake and as much ownership in this document as much as anyone else, in fact, in the name of this. So the 5 C's. Contextualize. Why do we contextualize? Because if we look at the Global Digital Compact, it is a standalone document, but as an annex to a set of documents, which is the Summit of the Future Outcome, which is the Declaration of the Generations, and the Global Digital Compact. So in order for us to see how the GDC will progress in the future, we really need to look at it within the context in which it was produced, which is the Summit of the Future Outcome. And hence, the success of the GDC is well linked to the success of the Summit of the Future Outcome, is well linked to the Declaration of Generations. And that helps us to forge the linkages, and maybe an answer to you, why is a diplomat sitting on this on this panel this morning. Also, to contextualize the GDC, you look at the references to other global documents that it refers to, such as the SDGs. Please do a Google count or a search count and see the references to the Sustainable Development Goals on their totality, or the Sustainable Development Goals as individualized, SDG 1, SDG 2, so on and so forth. And then we would also see where this digital agenda falls within a larger context of documents. Let's not also forget in the context that the GDC was a product of a multi-stakeholder consultation, but also of a multilateral decision-making. And hence that really increases the value of it, that this is a document that was actually signed to by governments, but upon the close consultation that our dear USG led with the other stakeholders. Second C, conceptualize. So contextualize, conceptualize. Why? Because we had a document in 2003 in Geneva. I don't say Ambassador Mark Coomer, but he was one of the negotiators. We had a document. Ambassador, morning, how are you? We had a document in 2005, and I see many of my Tunisian friends and colleagues here and others. So why do we need the GDC in 2025 or 2024? Because still we concept the new concepts. We're moving from the information communication technologies, from the information society to the digital issues. And hence the terminology that we're using now, instead of information society, we're using digital issues. But also look at the GDC, you will find that it's not only a reference to the digital technologies, but look at this, to emerging technologies, which actually means that the scope of our work and engagement and thinking should go beyond AI, but beyond ICTs and beyond, digital and beyond, to other emerging technologies, and the fusion between these technologies is really going to be clear in the near future. The third C is centralize. Is that yes, the UN and multilateral diplomacy is well known for having parallel processes, but also they should converge. So maybe the C can be centralized and converge. And I think yesterday we did speak about the WSIS +20 process. Now we're speaking about the GDC +3. I think the review is going to be in 3 years. So it's very, very important that we actually work in the same direction, even if it is with different processes. Fourth C, concretize. Because the GDC uses terminology, and rightly so, which is a product of a diplomatic form of engagement, that may need to actually either translate into indicators, into measure. You actually speak in the GDC targets, indicators, and metrics, but for many, and then also for the definement and the refinement of some of these concepts, such as meaningful connectivity. Now we need to sit together and see what would meaningful connectivity be for the Global South, for the developing countries, and not that term alone. There are quite a few others, especially that the GDC may look like, when you read it, as two documents, a document of action and a document of principles. It is not. It is one document of action and principles together, because you will see the word or the verb will in phrases and sections that may seem to be principles, but in fact, they are actions. So it's very important to look through that out and to concretize. The last C is a word that maybe we coin in Amman, because it's not in English. And Bill Gates and his Microsoft software did not accept that word from me, but maybe we need to think of it, because it is core to how the GDC can actually bring to action what words are running, is capacitize. It's not an English word. Maybe we create it today. It's to put the capacity, it's to put the means of implementation into every single commitment that was and that is in the GDC. So I hope I didn't speak too long, but these are just the 5 C's that I can share with you from here. And I hope that the dialogue will continue to translate each of these C into a charted roadmap and the plan of action.
Thank you so much. That was very comprehensive, and I understand why I've seen in bio writer and philosopher. So I get it better, much better now. Thank you so much. That was very clear. And jumping on this intervention, I'm getting back to Engineer Ayman, sorry, and then this is a global vision of the diplomacy in this new era. I think we have seen a transition in the role of diplomat also during the COVID crisis. Now with the digital and the AI, there is a transition in that role. Engineer Ayman, do you think that with this transition, we'll see reinforcement of interoperability between the different governments that all these diplomats or the diplomacy, all these compacts that are happening will impact
This is a new term. I like it. Interoperability of the governance and of the models and of the processes. Actually, let me commend what my good friend Ambassador Amr has said. His 5 C's is actually the very thoughts that we had in the region. And that's why I am proud when I said yesterday to Mr. Amandeep in the introduction that we have seen this when he started his office in the time where our common agenda, we saw it. We saw the direction of the Secretary General towards this kind of, even before in 2019, the contextualization, conceptualization, and all the way until the centralization in the positive sense, which you mentioned in the sense of alignments and direction. And I see it in the region happening. And that's why we conceptualized and also created this DCDF. How are we going to handle this intergovernmental operability? We thought of it 4 years ago, and that is the idea. Before we thought of it in the region, we saw it globally. And all of us have witnessed. We have seen the WSIS moving in a direction very successfully, but in parallel, another sister or twin, the Arab or the global IGF, moving in parallel and successfully, and the STI mechanisms or processes moving in parallel, also successfully, but they did not align. What we saw in the vision of the Secretary General in 2018, 19, and 21 in the common agenda, what's coming in the GDC, is this kind of alignment coming globally. So what we did our Arab WSIS, bring it in close proximity to the Arab IGF, which we have created before. And then we waited during these years for the GDC to come, but we were not silent. We made this voicing of the consultations of the Arab region 4 or 5 rounds until GDC reached its year of birth last year. We sent our common position of the region. I commend many countries, especially the UAE, that hosted our very important first round of consultation on the WSIS and GDC together last May. So we brought them together and we sent through our diplomatic missions to the office of the League of Arab States in New York, our input to code the G77 and to be taken into consideration. So we were in the region here thinking and walking the talk about the alignment of governance models. And now we are proud to be part of the working group on the digital technologies to help globally and reflect regionally. Also, as Mr. Amandeep said, we have a seat in the leadership structure of the WGDT as a regional commission in general. And we will bring also from the region to the global in order to implement what he mentioned, very rightfully concretize and then capacitize. And this is very 2 important components that we also have to discuss about ADA, about Arab Digital Agenda. We finished the contextualization, and I'm very glad for the C's that I brought it for. We finished the conceptualization, and we finished also the commitments and the goals and targets and actions in writing. But we have to take actions in reality. And that the positive sense in the word centralization, all the region has one agenda, no parallelism. And we still, all of us, the GDC, the ADA needs resources. Every mechanism like that needs resources. Some of the audience will ask you, and they ask us, where is the fund put to implement the ADA? Probably you have heard the question, where is the funds put to implement the GDC? I think, if I'm not mistaken, the prerogative of implementing the ADA or the GDC or the SDG lies with the countries, because the actions is taken where sovereign bodies take the decisions in the countries and aggregate to be in the region and aggregate to be in the global. So that's an important question for us to ponder on. I will just stop on my intervention on the alignment of governance by saying yesterday we had a session on WSIS, today a session on GDC, tomorrow before lunch, I remember, we'll have a session on both of them, third round of consultation, and we have even colleagues from the GDC, from the WSIS, from the CSTD. So we are continuing our dialogue so that we are moving towards one compass, not only globally with the GDC, but also regionally with the ADA.
Thanks so much, Engineer Ayman. I go back to Undersecretary General Gil. So you are leading also the Office for Digital and Emerging Technology. And then in the GDC, as Ambassador Amr mentioned, there's this big part of the emerging technology. And then for once, we are talking about the future. This is not about current status of the digital space, internet, or the digital or the ICT, but it's imagining what is the future and preparing the governance, preparing the policy, preparing, being anticipative for once on all these emerging technology. What is your main vision when it comes to emerging technology? What do you think that will be the next big thing that will land on our offices in these multilateral discussions?
I think this is called defense in depth, 3 levels of microphones. I think what's emerging is a technology-rich society. We see that already. Technology-rich economy. You know, we've had technology influence growth for centuries in the first industrial revolution, second, third, but now this is almost like a permanent revolution. And what's emerging is the very important political impact of technologies. This region has seen it, unfortunately, sometimes in not so good ways, but we see now much more subtle and more powerful impact of technology on our politics and relationships of power. Therefore, our response has to be faster, smarter, and stronger. I think this is where the GDC creates the opportunity for a new kind of multilateral collaboration. This term digital cooperation, which came about in 2018 when the Secretary General set up his high-level panel on digital cooperation, has a significance. We didn't say digital diplomacy because that might have meant that this is something just about governments talking to each other. Now, this new world that's emerging, and that's going to impact us so powerfully, involves other stakeholders. So it is a multi-stakeholder approach that we need to nurture in this emerging world. And I'm so thankful to my good friend Amr for bringing those 5 C's into the discussion today. Because at the end of the day, we can stay very abstract with these things, but words matter only when they change reality. So we need reality-changing words. GDC provides us the potential, but to make sure that action actually happens on the ground, we would need the kind of partnerships that Ayman has hinted at. We would need the kind of mobilization of stakeholders as we see in this room. And we would need to have more innovative ways of following processes, because in the UN, we spend a lot of time on processes. Maybe you asked Ayman, you know, how do we bring all these processes together? We are in a good place because there is convergence and there's alignment happening. The Internet Governance Forum, WSIS plus 20 this year, GDC follow-up. So there is a good moment in terms of coming together. Also to mention the data governance discussion at the Commission on Science and Technology for Development. I see Ambassador Anna Nevis in the room. You know, she's been a leader there. There is a very important new conversation starting there. But we have to make sure that these processes are not just cutting randomly across each other, that they come together under the chapeau of these 5 C's and actually change the reality that we are living in, so that the future, which is uncertain, which, with these technological developments, today we have AI, tomorrow we will have quantum breakthroughs. The announcements by Microsoft recently and Google earlier, they tell us that this is closer than what we thought. So regardless of the nature of the technological disruption, our analog institutions, our ways of working together are resilient, our responses are quick, agile, and meaningful, so that it works for humanity. At the end of the day, technology keeps changing, but we humans are still at the center. So a human-centric, human rights respecting approach, human empowering approach will, regardless of technology changes, keep us up to date. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Under Secretary General. So it's clear that the digital space is changing quickly, and then I'm very glad that you, Ambassador Amr, introduced this framework of 5C. I'll go further with these reflection on the 5C and emerging technology. So I think it's a kind of very generic approach, very generic thinking that can apply to these future technology and next technologies too. How do you see the real application of or translation of this framework on the ground between the UN and different other regional actors, the Arab leagues and all others in our region?
شكرا. شكرا أخي مهدي. If you allow me to speak in Arabic this time. يعني ربما سؤالك أيضا يطرح العلاقة فيما بين الأمم المتحدة كمنظمة عالمية وما بين المنظمات الإقليمية المختلفة والتي نجتمع تحت لوائها ومظلها حاليا الجامعة العربية. مرة أخرى إذا عدنا للميثاق الرقمي العالمي سوف نجد من الإشارات إلى التعددية اللغوية وإلى مكانة اللغة، لأن اللغة في الأساس هي معيار أو هي أداة التواصل الرئيسية التي يبنى عليها البيانات ويبنى عليها المعلومات ومنها تنتج المعرفة وغيره. وبالتالي جامعة الدول العربية واللجنة الاقتصادية الإسكو لها دور كبير جدا في تعزيز هذه التعددية اللغوية، وأن تكون التكنولوجيات الرقمية. وأنا أرى السيد الدكتور مدير عام المنظمة العربية للتكنولوجيا الاتصالات والمعلومات، وطبعا السيدة نائبة وزير الاتصالات وتكنولوجيا المعلومات الدكتورة غادة لبيب. إذن هناك دور كبير جدا يمكن أن نقوم به لتوطين إذا جاز التعبير هذه الأدوات الرقمية لتكون أيضا في خدمة التعددية اللغوية والتعددية الثقافية وغيرها. ربما في حديث مع وكيل السكرتير العام أمانديب جيل كان هناك حديث أن الفرنكوفونية تقوم بذلك بالفعل. إذن هناك أمثلة ونماذج نجاح يمكن البناء عليها. أيضا في الميثاق الرقمي العالمي سوف نجد إشارات مثلا في النص إلى ما يسمى البيئة التمكينية the enabling environment، وهنا الإشارة إلى البيئة التمكينية ليست مقصورة على البيئة التمكينية على المستوى الوطني، لكن هناك حديث في نفس الميثاق البيئة التمكينية على المستوى الإقليمي وعلى المستوى الدولي. وبالتالي تطوير للمنطقة العربية، تطوير معايير ومؤشرات حول ما هي البيئة التمكينية العالمية وليس فقط الوطنية، من خلالها يمكن أن تستطيع الدول النامية التي يعني تنتمي إليها الدول العربية في أن تحقق يعني أمانيها المشروع في تحقيق تنميتها في هذا الصدد. هناك إشارات كثيرة جدا إلى معاملة خاصة وتفضيلية إلى الدول النامية. لابد أن نأخذ كل إشارة من هذه ونطور منها برنامج عمل، وكما ذكرنا مؤشرات كثيرة. إذن المجموعة العربية هي جزء أساسي من الدول النامية بشكل عام، ولها أن تشكل الخطاب التنموي للجنوب العالمي، لكن أيضا مع خصوصية اللغة المشتركة التي ننتمي إليها جميعا. شكرا.
شكرا جزيلا. Thank you so much for that. So I'll stay with you because you've been talking about national context, language things. Yesterday, Under Secretary General talked about the specificity of the Arab region. We have the same language and we are sharing the same language. Still, we have a lot of gaps among different Arab countries when it comes to the digital, and especially in the AI. So I'll make the last round on AI specifically. We are talking about global digital gap, but In fact, in the Arab region, we have a digital and AI gap, and we have big institutions that could help reducing this gap. Is this something that you can see within the Global Digital Compact and beyond the Global Digital Compact, that we can accelerate reducing the gap among the different Arab countries because of our specific context, because shared language, that we can have a fair and much more equitable space when it comes to the AI by enabling exchange, by enabling knowledge sharing between the different Arab countries? Is this something that you foresee in the upcoming years?
No, thank you, our moderator, for raising this, and it's incredibly relevant. And I think it is a topic that is clear in the minds of the policymakers in the Arab world, because as we know, there is the Council of Ministers on Information Communication Technology, of which Minister Gheda and other colleagues are members. But there was also a thing, first of all, and then there is the Arab strategy on artificial intelligence, which was adopted not too long ago. There's an African also one. But let me here deconstruct, if I may say, or unpack artificial intelligence. Because I think the more we speak about artificial intelligence as a unified concept, that's fine, but we will not be able to translate it into a set of actions, and including for the Arab world as an example. Why is the hype on AI now? Because it is the fusion, the simultaneous fusion of three major developments. One is data, huge amount of data. So what is the Arab world and data? That's one major line axis that we should focus on, particularly data in Arabic. And we know that there isn't much of it. I think a colleague spoke about content yesterday in the session, in the afternoon session, which is part of it. So that's one major axis. Then the second one is the computational power. So now we have huge technology leap, and we just were speaking about one or two that was tweeted about. That is something we can work on, not as easy, because the localization of this technology, in the Arab world, yes, the Arab League Secretary General spoke about examples of success, but as you said, there is that divide in this thing. So maybe that's something we can work on, but with different pace. But the third one is also the algorithms. So those are the three components of AI. And here are very, very also relevant matters to the Arab world, because we speak about bias, you speak about ethics, you speak about how actually those algorithms are relevant to our culture specificity and so on and so forth. So I think when we unpack and deconstruct what otherwise seems like a standalone or so concept, then we can translate this through ESCWA, through the Arab League, through the ministries and others, into programs of actions on each of these. But I fully agree with you. There is a digital divide, there is an AI divide, there is a data divide. There are also different components of this divide between each country, among the region, and of course internationally. And I think that's also something that the Global Digital Compact spoke of. So it's a tough mission, but doable if there's enough will, I think, as everything else.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Amr. Under Secretary General, you've been in the high-level advisory body on AI, the Secretary General, releasing of the report, and now following up with the different actions. I know many of them, but maybe it's good to introduce what is going on the AI post GDC and post high-level advisory body, the different actions that the UN is foreseeing and implementing, or maybe looking for to implement.
I think AI is a test case for digital cooperation globally and also within regions. You mentioned the AI divide. There is the global AI divide, but there is also within regions a divide in terms of access to the critical enablers, data, talent, compute, models that can be shared. And we see at the global level this competing dynamic between closed systems and open systems, systems that respond to huge investments in hundreds of billions of dollars. So the race to the top. And then others where you are looking at who's capturing the value from the AI economy. This is a critical question in my travels in Asia, in many other parts of the world. I see private sector companies asking this, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, where are we in the digital economy? even those who have recently benefited in terms of business process outsourcing. I'm thinking here of Tunisia and many other countries in the region who benefited in Asia, India, Philippines. They're asking themselves these questions. So this is really a very, very important issue. Now, what's happening at the UN following the high-level advisory body on AIs, and my good friend Mohammed, who is on the advisory body, is here, is that you have an intergovernmental track where the scientific panel, International Independent Scientific Panel, and the global dialogue on AI governance are being implemented. So their modalities, their terms of reference are being decided. These will be critical foundation pieces for the world to collaborate on managing AI's risk and opportunities. Without international scientific assessments, we will not have the evidence base for tackling either risks or opportunities. And without the dialogue, the world will go in different directions. There'll be fragmentation of governance, and we won't be able to learn from each other's what to do and what not to do. And then the third piece in follow-up to the advisory body, and I'll close with this, and it speaks to your last C, which was capacitate in a sense. So this is the need for massive capacity building to address the AI divide. And the Secretary General is supposed to come out with a report by this summer on that, taking into account the work of the high-level advisory body, in particular, the idea of a global fund on AI. Do we need more resources? And how can those resources be put together? And then how can we network capacity building? So I'll close with this. In the region that we are situated in, could there be a network where compute is made available to researchers, startups, where talent flows because the culture, the language is the same, where talent is together nurtured, where models are shared? We don't have the need to duplicate model development in 20 different countries that speak the same language, where there is sharing of benefits and use cases, etc. So that is a challenge for the region. But if we can solve it here, then we can solve it for the world.
Thank you so much. I'll finish with Engineer Ayman. So the question is set up, stage is set up, and the Secretary General said, if we can resolve it in the region, we can resolve it everywhere when it comes to the AI. How is the Arab Digital Agenda? And then I heard that you are updating and including the most important evolution in the digital space. How is the Regional Commission, the Arab Regional Commission, economic, is taking that into account? What is the plan in the networking of capacity building in AI?
Sure, that's a very important question. And first of all, before I answer, first way, we will give you 15 minutes more for this session and we'll adjust the next session. So that is the first actionable thing because of the importance of the session. So we have time for us to comment and for the panelists. Let this side, not to the question. So that is a very important and also not only a question of inquiry, but a certificate of honor for us that the global level sees the strengths of the regions, bringing best practice and sometimes out-of-the-box modalities that can probably be propagated or shared with other regions in the global south or elsewhere. So I will comment on the AI within its own entity, but I would like to say one of the ideas that Ambassador Amr said when he said in the concretize that not only having actions, but also indicators and measurements to the phenomena itself or to the aspect per se. And now I say, how can we do that in the AI? In our Arab Digital Agenda, we have already set clear goals, baselines and goals for every issue and for every objective, targets, and so on. I think we can share this experience also with the GDC, DT, Working Group DT, and we can try to also expand its comparability to be adopted here or there in the GDC. And as we continue our process of expanding the Arab Digital Agenda, we expanded our efforts on the AI and tried to like emphasize more on it by putting more policy questions in the ADA, so that this will reflect automatically also to other regions. We will share that exercise. And the good thing that we are walking the talk. 2 days before now, in our day 0, we had in this room a meeting on AI questions. What is meant by AI ADA questions? It is the same phenomenon and modality we are using. How can we measure the readiness and the maturity of a country vis-a-vis AI? We had several scientists and experts in the room, and we are working on that exercise so that we have a baseline for our region upon which we can set the aspirations in a measurable manner. And this is not have not been done here only, but for the last almost a year. So we are working on the AI questions. But what are the elements? Quickly, in the Arab ICT strategy and in these working groups that we created on AI, we are working on infrastructure matters, on industry matters, and also on governance questions. Add to that the idea of the solutions and the legislations, and you take it, you name it. So we have some kind of questions started to be created to create a baseline for a country and a target for a country. That is one thing. The other thing, we are integrating the thematic AI strategy that has been adopted last month or a couple of months ago with the right anchor points in the global ADA, even related to the ICT matters or whatever. And the most important, the networking. We started creating a network in the region under the auspices of League of Arab States and ESCWA and the ADA. And we can call it now a real name. We can call it something like the Arab Strategy and Policy Network on AI. And we are going to put also our efforts and commitments to have one compass, to have one platform, including all the efforts of partners of the ADA. So ITU has a very strong input on AI, and they are very active partners through their Arab regional office in the region. We have the UNESCO as part and parcel of the Arab Digital Agenda, and they do have also their strengths. We have ICTU, we have the Arab Academy on Science and Technology. We have countries who are pioneering. I recall also some practical experiences in large language models in UAE, in Saudi Arabia, also in Egypt. So we have different champions. And let me say, this is like soft aspiration. I don't want to say commitment, but we will work on it to strengthen this Arab network for policy and strategy on AI and resonate with the scientific and global panel so that we are also all aligned. And technically speaking, let us say we are not that far. We have the understanding at the scientific, at the policy level, but of course, there is a gap in funding and financing, and also on SME, like startups and so on. But we will put also our attention with the investment community to direct this to the entrepreneurs, to have a starting industry, not only to be a user, but also to be a producer of solutions, algorithms, and data within our sovereignty constraints. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. So Ambassador Amr, Under Secretary General, Engineer Ayman, thank you so much for this very fruitful discussion. I'd like to open the floor to your questions, if any.
Christine.
I'll do it.
Can you give the floor to?
Yes, sure.
Which one? Back.
So Christine, Osai, Karim.
Yeah, if we can get the questions together, so then we can get a batch of answers later.
Thank you for a very interesting session. And my name is Christina Arida, and I work for the Telecom Regulatory Authority of Egypt. So my question is actually to Ambassador Gill and to Ambassador Goueli. First, thank you very much for those very interesting points. I like the 5 Cs very much. And I'm wondering, we're having the WSIS Plus 20 review coming up this year, and we're looking at the mandate of the IGF. And if I look at the 5 C's, just very quickly, I didn't capture all 5 very deeply to look at them, but at least 2 of them concretize and capacitize. I think that's something that the IGF has done over 20 years in such a good way. So I'm wondering to which extent you believe that the IGF should maybe pick up on those C's within the implementation of the GDC, and how, and that's the question to Ambassador Amr, how can the funding of the IGF and the resourcing of the IGF be done in a better way to be able to perform that? Thank you.
Do we have another question? Yeah. I'm coming. I think it would be faster. That's fine.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm Karim Abdelghani. I'm from the ITU. Thank you very much for this insightful session. I don't have a question. I have maybe a little bit of commentary because you pointed to ITU's role. So I want to maybe elaborate more on ITU's role at the global stage and regionally. Specifically, we've been actively, working on digital cooperation areas on all themes ranging from AI to cybersecurity to connectivity, assisting countries probably to align as well with the GDC outcomes as well. And so we've been working with partners across the region, specifically ESCWA, ICTO, and all the others, and with all the stakeholders, private sector companies, in that regard. Globally, we've been actively involved, as you pointed, to work closely with audit through the different mechanisms, the working group that you pointed to. And so we're I would say hand in hand to try to align and centralize, like one of the C's that you mentioned, to hopefully bring the global community in one direction. This year we have I think an opportunity to bring this alignment even closer, I would say. Given the IGF review mandate, WSIS +20 review, towards the end of the year, in November, we have the World Telecommunications Development Conference, the ITU conference, that will also provide a little bit of clarity to the ITU community. Member states will advise on how they would align with all these global frameworks and global mandates. So ITU is a leading partner in that, and we hope to continue that effort as we celebrate this year 160 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nermeen Saadani. I'm the Regional Vice President for the Internet Society for the MENA region. I would like first to applaud the UN for the efforts done in conducting the GDC. We believe that the GDC aligns with our mission and vision for a global, connected, trustworthy internet. And my intervention, and lately my question as well, maybe would align with my colleagues. We believe that the internet is based on cooperation and collaboration between different stakeholders. So we applaud the essence of including every stakeholder in their respective role to the work of the GDC and its implementation later on. We also believe that maybe we can consider and seek leverage of the existing mechanisms, such as the Internet Governance Forum, as a platform on the UN system for the implementation as well of the GDC. The technical community plays a very, very crucial role in the life of the internet, which is for the benefit of everyone. We believe that the internet technical community could as well contribute very much to the policy debate that can help policymakers understanding some technical issues while they are thinking about decisions and legislation and so on. So thank you so much. And I would like to listen maybe to Undersecretary Mr. Jill for the continuation of the Internet Governance Forum. Thank you so much.
Qusay Shati from Kuwait. First, I want to thank the distinguished panelists for their input regarding the overview of the Global Digital Compact. I had the opportunity to attend the Action Day in New York, and we just saw the atmosphere and how effective, and we listened to you as the envoy of the DGC. So we were happy for that. But my question is actually to Ambassador Zantib and to Ambassador Amr Al-Juwaili. We have noticed in the GDC document that there has been a reference to national laws and regional arrangements in almost every objective of the 5 within the GDC. Yet the nature of the GDC document as a non-binding document. And because here I'm here to have the opportunity to talk to diplomats as well as to ICT professionals. First, how from a diplomatic point of view and as a commitment, how we view the non-binding documents as binding, or as a commitment, let's say, for countries to comply with or to meet the targets of these documents. How do they see it on a state level as an important document, although it is called non-binding? That's one. Yet, the national arrangements or the regional arrangements, how it can be applied or linked to the GDC as a document, and do we have now more flexibility on national or regional levels to address these issues? And shall national and regional arrangement can be recognized now on a global level, rather than we see a global idea that needs to be implemented on national and regional level? So that's basically my question to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And we can continue the conversation later because we have to respect Ayman's program, the time. So taking the questions that were addressed to me, I think the non-binding nature I'll leave to Amr. But just to throw out an example, the SDGs framework, it is non-legally binding, but it has had tremendous impact, including in the private sector. It has shaped thinking, the 17 goals, the 170 plus targets. So we have states vying with each other to present reports. So it's the way we bring these documents alive, going back to the earlier point about what changes reality. So I won't worry that much about the non-binding nature. States fought a lot. I'm sure Amr, as a distinguished diplomat with decades of experience, will have more to say on that. On leveraging the existing forums and processes, absolutely. So the GDC recognizes that, has very progressive, positive, uplifting language on the IGF's role. This is a very important role here for continuing that role and building on that. And I think the IGF community has grown in strength over the past few years in numbers, but also in the regional national outreach. So national IGFs, the regional IGFs, that network has grown stronger, and we have to leverage that network. There are many, many aspects of the discussions today in the IGF that speak directly to the GDC's agenda. So I think reaching out to that context, which Amr pointed out in the region and the national, through the IGF and other forums, including the WSIS forum that the ITU hosts in Geneva, it's very, very critical. Pass it on to Amr.
Thank you very much, USG. You know, you discover good friends when they come to attend your session, then better friends when they ask questions, and then best friends when they ask difficult questions. So Christine, Karim, Nermeen, and Qusay, friends for many, many decades. I wouldn't want to count them out. So on the same line of the USG on IGF, and the GDC makes reference to the IGF, the WSIS. So the linkage is clear. Now it's up to us to see whether the WSIS plus 20 makes reference to the GDC, which we're just starting. So that organic linkage between the two, and as we said, to contextualize or to conceptualize moving from the information society, not merely moving, but expanding into the digital society or digital issues, was a normal evolution. You know, when you say تطور الطبيعي للحاجة الساقعة, it's almost the same thing. So the organic linkage is there. There are references, and it's up to us as member states, as stakeholders in the WSIS Plus 20 review to see how we reflect on the GDC, which is obviously a more recent document, and including more logistical or procedural issues such as the funding and otherwise. I know Nermeen directed the question to you, but allow me to also address it on the overall stakeholder community. I think that debate was settled in WSIS. We are in a multi-stakeholder engagement process. But please remember the magic formula that WSIS gave us, which until now is referred to at the GDC, and it just pleases everybody according to their respective roles and responsibilities. Let us not recreate a challenge or a situation where it does not exist, because we know it's multi-stakeholder, but we know also according to their respective responsibilities and competencies and jurisdictions and so on and so forth. And that will obviously also apply to ITU, which has a central place in this. Happy birthday, 160th. I think it's an opportunity and an occasion to celebrate. Finally, to my dear friend Qusay, please let us differentiate between bindingness and enforcement. In international law and international relations and international diplomacy, when states agree on a certain outcome, there is a moral and political responsibility on them to implement it. And that we call it commitments. Now, obligations are the legal form of commitments, which are through treaties, conventions, charters, and so on. And sometimes obligations are coupled with enforcement. But it does not mean that commitments are less implementable than obligations. And I think our USG gave reference to the SDGs, but let me give you another reference. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Who would actually dare raise their hand now and say, I'm not going to implement the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? None. It's a General Assembly resolution. It was literally coined into the international discourse through a General Assembly resolution, which some would argue is not binding. No, it's not enforceable in the sense that you would not employ coercive measures to put it into implementation, such as Security Council Resolutions Chapter 7. It does not mean that states which have agreed to are less required to follow it in good faith and to put it to good implementation. The point is sometimes is capacity. And here I come back maybe to a closing point and coming back to either capacitate or capacitizers. It's really sometimes states do not present a report on implementation, not because they're not committed to it, because they don't have the resources, human resources, financial resources, even sometimes intellectual resources to do so. So sometimes really, and hence capacity comes straight into implementation, comes straight into bindingness, because it allows member states to undergo their own commitments that they have agreed to. Thank you.
So my ending remarks before I give it to you to close. We are all benefited from the discussion. I'm happy that the 15 minutes extra were very beneficial. I think this is some dialogue to be continued, and tomorrow we will continue, but from another perspective. We'll discuss the Arab consultations on the GDC and the WSIS Plus 20, and we will benefit from all the inputs given by our distinguished panelists here. And I will ask you to conclude, and we will start a ministerial panel in a few minutes. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Engineer Ayman. Thanks, colleagues, Under Secretary General, Ambassador Amr, or colleagues who have joined the session. Sorry for those who were not able to take their questions. Please feel free to reach out to us. We are still in the room, happy to discuss it further. Thank you so much, and have a very nice morning and a very nice next session. Thank you.